Hey, everybody, halftime, and the Clippers, with a good final 2 minutes of that half, they have the lead of 50-49. Pretty good first half, but 10 turnovers, Jerry. If that happens in the second half, the Kings aren't going to win this game.
No, no, especially these guys, the Clippers are so good in the transition,
Yeah.
and the assist turnover ratio in the first quarter was very good, and then all of a sudden they really got sloppy with the ball, and you got to credit the Clippers defense. I think they are one of the better defensive teams in this league right now, and I think Jeff Van Gundy's had a lot to do with that, the physicalness of it and how they really attack the ball.
Sometimes, I don't know about you, but sometimes I forget how good Kawhi Leonard is because he's missed so much action. But boy, he can play. He is so good.
Well, that's the thing that would concern me going forward is two things. Who is the best defensive team? Well, that's the Clippers. Who has the best player? That's the Clippers. And those are really, really big advantages. Certainly,
Yeah.
doesn't mean the Kings can't win, but with Kawhi playing like this and the activity on the defensive end by the Clippers, I mean, we got us a ball game. It's a fun half, and the Kings really
Well,
controlled it until the last 2 minutes.
you can look at this a lot of different ways, but the fact that it's only a 1 point deficit and DeRozan and Levine really haven't done anything offensively yet is kind of a positive for Sacramento. I'd be surprised if one of those two don't get going here in the second half.
Well, I think they have to, and you hit it. I think one of the two has to have a
Yeah.
strong half, and I think you can also see the focus of the Clipper defense, pretty much like we saw the other night with Denver. They really focused on taking DeRozan out of the game and giving him extra looks and all that kind of. Hey, we're going to attack the head of the snake offensively, and that's who these guys are. So, but you're right. I'm convinced you are that one of the two has to go for about 15 here in a productive 15 in the second half for the Kings to win.
Sacramento's got to win either tonight or against Phoenix to be at home. I don't think it matters whether the Kings are at home or on the road. I know that sounds crazy, but I don't think it makes any difference. The Kings actually at home are under 500 this year, and on the road, I think they're a better team. So to me, it doesn't even matter.
I was going to say, this might be the only time or only team you'd ever say that about, but
That's
it's
right.
been true the last 2 years. It was that way last year, and it is this year. They just simply have not been a particularly good team at home, and most of their best wins, in fact, have been on the road.
Yes.
so, so you'd like to have it for a lot of reasons, but I don't know that it's any real advantage at this point.
This is a huge game for the Clippers. It's really not a big game for Sacramento, other than you can get 40 wins and you would still have a chance for a 500 season. But this is a huge game for the Clippers when you look at the standings in the West. And right now, there's a wild game going on in Denver. Memphis, who played last night, they allowed 52 points in the third quarter to Minnesota. Tough back-to-back. They're in Denver right now, and with 2.5 left, they're leading 108-107.
Yeah, that's a huge game there, and it's obviously both teams are getting new coaches, a lot of adjustments here at the end of the year, and both very good teams. But as you pointed out, I mean, man, all these teams bunched together here: Golden State, the Clippers, Denver, Memphis. I mean, it's going right down to the final game.
What'd you think of Keegan Murray and his return? 15 minutes of action. How did he look to you?
I thought he looked pretty solid. He missed some shots you'd like for him to make, but he was aggressive, and certainly you could tell his imprint defensively. So, probably not the Keegan Murray we'll see the next game.
The Kings have lost all 3 games this year to the Clippers. This second half is going to be very interesting. I'm going to say this, and I'm keep saying this. I don't understand. Does Zach LaVine have something in his contract where he has to play a minimum of 40 minutes every night? Again, 20 minutes in that first half.
Yeah, it's a bit surprising. I mean, obviously, he's a guy that can be very explosive, but still, it's not like he does so many things for you. You have to keep him out there all the time. I mean, he certainly is not a great defender, and he will turn the ball over some. Uh, yeah, I'm a little bit surprised with that. Especially, we're seeing much improved play from Devin Carter,
Yeah.
for instance. I mean, he's a guy that kind of gets things done without really needing the ball.
Yeah, he played 7 minutes and actually did score in that first half with 6 points. Not a lot of free throws, Jerry, in that first half. Only 5 for the Clippers and 6 for the Kings. There were no misses from the line, so we're not seeing a lot of attempts.
Yeah, just not a lot of whistles. I mean, the
Right.
game is very physical, and both teams adjusting to it. Uh, probably in some games you'd have had get 15 free throws by each team. Uh, but I like it. It does. It really
Yeah.
seems like playoff basketball, as you've seen it a zillion years, and I mean the officials are kind of saying, hey, it's got to be a foul if I'm going to call it.
Jerry, just so you know, I announced the Kings for 32 years. I don't really know that much about playoff basketball. I'm sorry.
well, well, you got a lot of experience in that little period there of 8-year period there in a row.
Yeah.
See, so yeah,
Yeah.
I thought that made up in a lot of you had 8 years
Okay.
that really translated to 20 for anybody
uh,
else.
50 to 49. Do you think this will be a low scoring second half similar to what we saw in the first half?
I think the offense will pick up. I do. I think both teams will get over 100, but I'll kind of go with the thing. I kind of think the first team to get to 100 is probably going to win.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be much over 100.
The one thing we've seen a lot with the Kings this year, there have been games where they played very well in the first half up until the final 2 minutes of the half, and then it's carried over into the third quarter. And we've also seen them get momentum at the end of the half and use it to their advantage in the second half. I've seen a lot of the trends that way this year. That concerns me a little bit only because of what we've already seen this season. The Clippers did play very well in the final 2 minutes to be able to take the lead.
Yeah, it's what would worry me there is the Clippers probably go into the locker room saying, "Hey, we closed these guys off down the stretch." And the coaches are saying, "We're the better team. Keep playing better. Really, the aggressive,
Yeah.
tough defense, and we'll get a chance to stretch this game out." Now, if you're the Kings, you're saying just about the opposite. Hey, we had these guys. We got lackadaisical, got a little careless with the ball, and lost the lead. So both teams have got things to adjust to. That's for sure.
So we talked about Levine and DeRozan. I've got to believe if the Clippers are going to win this game, James Harden's going to have to really get going here. He was quiet in that first half, 3 of 7 from the floor and only 1 of 5 from distance.
Yeah, and we both know, as everybody does, that he can really get it going. And so but I mean, because Kawhi can't really just carry him on. Norman Powell's been very good, of course, and Zubats, but they've got a couple of guys they normally count on being out. I think for them, they've got to get more out of their bench. Certainly, Bogey and Derek
Jones, Derek
Jones
Jones. Yeah.
Jr. Yeah, I mean those guys are good players, and so they're capable of putting up some numbers too.
Ben Simmons only played 7 minutes. When you see him on this team, his role is what? I mean, just for defense? I mean, how do you see him fitting in with this Clippers team?
At this stage of his career and what he's been doing the last 3 years or so, I mean, I think he's just a shell basketball player.
Yeah.
He's,
Yeah.
he certainly is still above average defender, but I think you said everything that you can say about him right there.
Yeah.
And it's amazing to go from an all-star level player and former
Yeah.
first pick in the draft, but then again, the Kings have got Markel Fultz, the same kind of thing, guys that to take a number one and just it hasn't happened. But in his case, I just don't see any going forward with Ben Simmons anymore. You just feel like you don't need to move on other than just a veteran minimum contract, because that's kind of the player he is now.
All right. The Clippers have won 6 in a row. And again, this is a huge game for them. By the way, the Nuggets have gone on top of the Grizzlies 112 to 108 with 2 minutes left. Minnesota is going to win their game. So these are all important scores that will have an impact on the Clippers. And just remember that on Sunday, the Clippers, Jerry, play the Warriors. That is just that could be huge. So this is this second half for the Clippers is maybe as big a half as they're going to play all season. So with that said, you picking the Kings to win this?
No, I'm really not. I'd love to be wrong, but I think the Clippers, quite honestly, are the better team, and they're playing for more.
Yes.
And so just on that basis, and So yeah, I've got to go with the Clippers, probably 106 to 102.
I'm picking the Clippers because they've got a lot more riding on this game as well, and I think that matters. A player that we didn't talk about because he didn't play the last time these teams met, who does have an important impact, and that's Norman Powell. He's really good for this team.
Yeah, he really is. He's played at an all-star level. I mean,
Yep.
he's offensively, he's almost in the Desmond Bain category. Not quite
Wow.
that good, but a guy that's capable of he's going to get his 20 every night, and some nights he can go for 35, 40. So yeah, he and James Harden are a perfect fit because Harden needs the ball, and really Norman Powell just needs to catch it to score it. That's about it. He doesn't need a lot of dribbles.
Yeah. All right. So I think the Clippers are going to win this game too. I think it's going to be 109 to 105. I hope we're wrong, but that's the way I see it. And again, I don't really think it matters from Sacramento's perspective. Again, I know that the management and Doug Christie would disagree, and that's fine. They should. But being at home or on the road against Dallas to me doesn't matter. 112 to 108 with a minute 47 left now, with the Nuggets getting the basketball up by 4. Jerry, we always appreciate your input here at intermission, and hopefully we can have the beam lit here in about an hour.
Well, it would be great. Obviously, to get that beam lit, you're going to have to really play a good half, and because this Clipper team is good, and I think we're seeing. I think the most important thing to me, just like you, I want to see the Kings really playing good basketball, which we saw in the first half. We need to see that intensity and all that. That'll bode well going into the play-in.
116 to 108 now, Denver. And I'll just say this: I'm going to make a prediction right now. I think whoever wins between the Kings and the Mavs, I think they're going to end up in Memphis. And I think that the Kings or the Mavs, particularly the Kings, would have I'm going to give them a 50-50 chance to go in and beat Memphis with how their season is derailed here coming down the stretch.
Well, that's the matchup you want. I couldn't agree more. That is your best chance right there. And certainly they're kind of stumbling to the spot.
They sure are. All right. Everyone will be on a post-game show. Enjoy the second half, everybody. Bye-bye.